The Kraft Music Hall, starring Bing Crosby and Bob Burns, with Connie Boswell, John Scott Trotter and his orchestra, and the Music Maids. Bing's special guests for this evening include a young tenor, Jimmy O'Brien, whom Bing is very anxious to have you hear, Gail Patrick, one of the screen's most charming ladies, and one of America's handsomest men, Bert Lahr. And here's Bing Crosby.
You're a double lovely, you're so super sweet. To be more specific, you're triple terrific, knock me off my feet. You're a double lovely, such a work of art. Honey, you're so charming, it's really alarming what you do to my heart. And to say you're simply thrilling would be an understatement by far. Baby, you could get top billing over any Hollywood star. You're a double lovely, you're a dream come true. How my heart will bubble when I make a double lovely you.
You're a double lovely, you're so super sweet. To be more specific, you're triple terrific, you knock me off my feet. You're a double lovely, such a work of art. Honey, you're so charming, it's really alarming what you do to my heart.
And to say you're simply thrilling be an understatement by far. Baby, you could get top billing over any Hollywood star. You're a double lovely, you're a dream come true. How my heart will bubble when I make a double with double lovely. You're so lovely, double lovely you.
Say, Bing, how about the way Bob's got himself all browned up since last week?
Well, I must say he's certainly right ruddy, isn't he?
Ain't he?
Yeah, I want to tell you that tan goes clear down past the high water mark.
Did you take off your collar and roll up your pants?
Well, I suppose I might as well admit it. I got one of those strapless bathing suits.
You old roue.
Well, now, there wasn't anything for miles around. There wasn't a soul around to see me, just trout.
So you got that tan out angling, Bob?
Yeah, and I was sitting fishing last Saturday morning when all of a sudden I heard you singing.
Everything happens to you, huh?
No, you ain't kidding.
Now, don't tell me you heard Bing singing in your mind, Bob.
Oh, yes, there's an awful echo in there.
Yeah, it's holler. Yeah, but I know you'll never believe this, you two, but down there in the water was the sweetest little trout you ever saw, sticking his little head up out of the water. Mm-hmm. You know how fish do, Bing, and just kind of going boo, 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 boo.
Boy, that's a whopper.
No, it wasn't, Connie. It was just a little bitty fish.
In a little bitty pool.
Yeah, honestly, he was so cute. Now, Bing, I'm serious about this. I didn't have the heart to hook him. When it come time for me to go home, Crosby started to waggle his tail and go boo, 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 boo.
Crosby? Did you call that fish Crosby?
Yeah, I named him after you.
Oh, now, ain't that sweet, Bing?
I adore it.
Well, I thought so. I thought it was nice. I called him Crosby, and all the way back and all night, he just kept wiggling and saying boo, 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 till there's just one thing left for me to do.
You brought him here?
I ate him for breakfast.
That must have canceled that character's boo-boo-boo-booing.
No, Sir Bing, it didn't.
He continued to boo-boo-boo-boo?
Yes, sir, once before I ate him and twice afterward.
Oh, while I pass among the guests of the old Kraft Music Hall, such guests as Bert Lahr, Gail Patrick, and Jimmy O'Brien, assuring them that they are in no immediate danger, would you be good enough to keep up the courage and morale of the company, Connie, with something sprightly?
A gay ranchero, a caballero, can always find someone to pet. A senorita, a sweet papita, her other love will soon forget. If he's insistent and she's not distant, the senorita will confess. Her gay ranchero, a caballero, need only ask and she'll say yes. Soon there'll be a fiesta with a blushing bride, and the gay ranchero standing by her side. If they find the promise that they have in store, they'll be counting little chicos by the score. Back on his rancho, we now find Pancho with his Pepita by his side. She thinks he's handsome, worth any ransom. To him she's still a blushing bride. Our gay ranchero, our caballero, still tells the world of how they met. This gay ranchero, this caballero, says he has nothing to regret. Now to end the story that I once was told, here's a little secret that I must unfold. For they found the promise that they had in store. Now they're really counting Chicos by the score. Now to end the story that I once was told, here's a little secret that I must unfold. For they found the promise that they had in store. Now they're really counting Chicos by the score. A gay ranchero, a gay ranchero, a gay ranchero.
You know, it's funny how some people never seem to change, while others seem to change subtly for each meeting. I guess Bert Lauer is one of these. From mug to aesthete, from oysters to oysters in 2 years. And it's not hard to understand why either, because right after our friend Bert was here in the hall 2 years ago, he went east to start rehearsals for the Saco musical comedy, Dewberry Was a Lady, which he's been starring on Broadway, in Chicago, and on the road ever since. It's not hard to understand, though, why Bert Lauer should be such a standout in an historical play such as Dewberry, because when you look at Bert closely, you'll see that he really has a face that could have lived before in history.
Have you noticed it, too, Bing? So many people have told me.
They've told you that your face seems to have lived before in history?
Yes. Practically everybody claims I got a repossessed puss.
No, Bert, I'm serious. Hasn't anyone ever told you that your face suggests one of the great leaders of the French Revolution? Marat, perhaps, or Robespierre.
Dear old Robespierre, the color man.
Or perhaps it's Danton that your face suggests, huh?
Yes, Danton in the dark.
Yeah.
But really, Bing, I don't like to brag, but I have been taken for a Hubbard.
Have you now? You mean the writer, Elbert Hubbard?
No, but you're warm.
The 18th century historian, William Hubbard?
You're getting colder.
Maybe the creator of Abe Martin, Frank McKinney Hubbard.
Hey, Bing, how come you know so much about Hubbards?
Well, he ought to. Don't he wear a Mother Hubbard? Dear, I'll never forget the dear old matriarch. How she used to go to the cupboard to get me things and stuff. But the cupboard always looked like Gypsy Rose Lee after the 5th chorus. Poor old Mother Hubbard. It was her appetite that finally killed her.
She ate too much?
No, she starved to death.
You think it's she that you resemble?
Before or after? No, that's impossible. I don't look that bad. Or do I?
That's all I can think of. Which Hubbard do people say you do resemble, Bert?
Hubbard Squash.
Yeah, I can see the resemblance now that I catch you in profile there, with the light streaming through your hair.
Now, don't say hair, Bing, please. The word is hairs. There are 2 of them.
Oh, no, you're too modest, Bert. There must be at least 6 or 8 up there.
You know, you're the first person my little trick fooled.
What little trick?
Parting my freckles on the side. You know, it's one of my own personal beauty secrets.
Oh, well, tell me more, Bertram.
Well, I'd rather not,
Oh,
Bing.
come, do. Yeah.
I'm really not a vain man. You see, all I ask of life is enough time to finish my book.
Oh. What's your book about, Bert?
At the present time, it's about 900 pages. But that's only the first chapter.
Isn't that a trifle on the long side?
It's my answer to Gone with the Wind.
What are you calling it?
Back with the Breeze.
You're devoting yourself exclusively to this writing, huh?
And my reading.
Of course, reading.
Naturally, I must keep abreast.
Natch.
And stuff. And things.
I see. You only read to keep up.
No, to go to sleep.
You find literature a soporific?
You said it, kid. Now, what have these modern books got?
Nothing. They can't compare with the classics.
Of course not.
Of course not.
No, I picked up a new book last night. No wit, no beauty, no imagination. Why, it was all I could do just to keep track of the characters.
Oh, how double dull. What were you reading?
The Los Angeles telephone directory.
Or places where Burns's bazooka's not welcome, huh?
Well, some like it, but not me. Maybe it's because I'm more sensitive and high-strung. The way a guy inevitably gets from messing around with poetry.
Poetry?
Mm-hmm.
What's this? I had no idea that you dabbled in poetry, Bert.
Bing, please, I don't dabble. I definitely dunk.
How long's this been going on?
Well, it's a new facet on my kaleidoscopic soul.
Is it?
Yeah. Only this month...
Can't see it from here, kid.
Only this month I received an honorary degree of Doctor of Poetic Understanding.
Oh, must make you very proud to be a doctor of poetic understanding.
Oh, I shall never forget how my pulse palpitated the first time I saw my name written on the degree. Bert Law, P.U.
Well, of course, this is expecting a lot, and I hope I'm not hoping too much that you're packing a parcel of your personal pentameter avec vous.
Yeah. By the merest chance, I happen to have something I dashed off at the links this afternoon.
Yeah?
A loathsome little thing I call Flight of a Golf Ball.
Oh, how charming.
Flight of a golf ball. What does a golf ball think as it lies there on the tee looking up at me? What does a golf ball think as it flies high in the air going who knows where? What does it think as it flies pell-mell? Does it like my game, or does it think well, what does a golf ball think as I swing there on the ground just looking round? What does a golf ball think when I bring my driver down with a whirring sound? How does it feel, and what does it think? Does it like my game, or does it think I ought to take up tennis?
That's lovely, Bert. Fraught with fundamental futilities. Really a beautiful thought.
I'm so glad you liked it, Bing. So few do.
Well, it's too much. It's probably too much for them. How can they like what they can't understand?
Well,
I think your poetry, Bert, is rich with real mediocrity.
Well, I have several of the same type at the house. When I get the place fixed, you must come over.
Fixed up? Who's doing your interior decorating?
Me. No outsider is getting a chance to decorate my interior.
What materials are you using? Chintz and cretonne? Now, they're popular.
Well, chintz and cretonne may be popular.
Of course.
But when I'm doing my own interior decorating to suit my own tastes, I use scotch and soda.
And very effective, too. I don't suppose you'll go for any of this roughly laced, no taffeta, no silk, no satin?
Only the chairs will be satin.
Well, that is sure homey.
That's enough, Bing. What? That'll do from you.
What do you mean?
That's an That's an uncalled for insult.
What is? I just said sure homey.
Oh, I thought you said I was homely.
Must be thrilling, though, Bert, to have your own little home at last. After touring season after season, on the road all the time, living in trunks.
Yes, but I really haven't lived in trunks since I was swimming 12 shows a day with Billy Rose's Aquacade.
Getting on the square, Bert. It's got it all over knocking around the country now, hasn't it, really? I mean, living out here with a couple of acres of, a few fruit trees and some dogs.
Yes, but which is louder, the bark of the trees or the dogs?
You try to pretend that you don't know about these things, Bert, but I know you do.
Well, I don't want to let myself wax sentimental about
don't
it,
do that.
But I have a couple of dogs, and, well, just to show you how I really feel, I'll let the bars down. And believe me, Bing, this comes from the heart. Each day, when I come home at dark, who greet me with their merry bark? My dogs. Who fetch my pipe and slippers, too? Who know just what I like to do? My dogs. When I don't want to think or talk, with whom do I enjoy to walk? My dogs. We climb the hills, we roam the dales. I think, and they just wag their tails. We climb the hills, we roam the dales. I think, and they just wag their tails. My dogs. Then home, forgetting worldly faults. And what do I soak in Epsom salts? My dogs.
Oh, that's wonderful, Bert. Too vibrantly earthly,
Oh,
you know.
ain't it just too utterly ut?
Of course, you must have heard Edna St. Vitus Mitnick's epic to a Nebuch.
No.
Ever heard that?
No, but recite it to me or I'll swoon. I really
Come
will.
closer. Here it is. Still, O mighty people, still, O waiting humanity. The time is here, the time has come. Listen, listen, listen.
I must be on a busy wire.
Listen, listen, listen.
June days are picnic days, and that means lots of sandwiches and salads. So now more than ever, you want to keep your refrigerator stocked with Miracle Whip salad dressing. Miracle Whip is the magic key to salads and sandwiches that folks rave about. The liveliness of its flavor, its velvety golden smoothness, have made it far more popular than any other dressing. That just right flavor, not too sharp or too bland or oily, appeals to men and women both, and youngsters eat up their healthful salads without a bit of urging when they're topped with Miracle Whip. The fact that Miracle Whip salad dressing is the nation's best-liked brand shows that people do appreciate quality, for this dressing is made with really fine ingredients, including plenty of eggs and oil. And it's delicately fresh because most food dealers get new supplies every few days. First thing tomorrow, check your supply of Miracle Whip salad dressing. If it's running low, be sure to get more. And remember, you save with the quart-size jar.
Maria Elena, you're the answer to a prayer. Maria Elena, can't you see how much I care? To me, your voice is like the echo of a sigh, and when you're near, my heart can't speak above a sigh. Maria Elena, say that we will never part. Maria Elena, take me to your heart. A love like mine is great enough for two. To share this love is really all I ask of you. Maria Elena, say that we will never part. Maria Elena, take me to your heart. A love like mine is great enough for two. To share this love is really all I ask of you.
Say, that was awfully pretty, Bing.
You like that?
Yeah, I could have waited till he finished, though.
Thanks. Put on the bum bum.
What was the name of that?
That was
thing?
Maria Elena, Bob. That's a Mexican song. Just trying to promote a little good neighbor policy here.
Well, that's awfully nice, Bing. I think that's a mighty fine gesture, but As long as you're thinking about good neighbors, how about your own neighbors? How do you get along with them?
Oh, got nice neighbors, Bob. Ann Sheridan lives on one side of me.
Does she? Who lives on the other side?
Who cares?
No. Bing, you always jest with me.
No.
I'm serious about
Only
this.
mildly.
Well, I've got... No, you couldn't say it was a wow, could you?
No.
No, I've got good neighbors myself out there, too.
Yeah, who?
Johnny Weissmuller lives 3 trees up for me. But what I was talking about, Bing, is out here, you don't get a chance to get acquainted with your neighbors. You never get to see them. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you don't even know who they are. I miss that personal touch, rubbing elbows with people.
Well, I told you the best way, Bob. The best way to do that is you got to join a club.
Well, you offered to get me in your club, and nothing ever happened.
Well, I'm sorry, Bob, but you didn't make the grade there.
Oh, Bing, I
Couldn't
didn't.
cut
I'm
it. No.
sorry to hear about that. You don't mean that the boys didn't like me in the club. You don't mean they blackballed me.
Oh, yes, that's the way they did it. I was there the night it happened.
Well, I hate to hear that, but Bing, confidentially, just how many black balls did I get?
Well, Robin, did you ever see about $44 worth of caviar?
Well, Bing, I started to join a club. I don't know whether it's a good thing to join a club or not. I started to join the Elks Club down in Van Buren one time.
Oh, you did? Did you like those boys?
No, it wasn't the boys so much. They had such a cute motto.
Oh, did they? What is the Elks' motto in Van Buren?
An eye for an eye and a tooth for a watchful.
Well, you must have some relatives, Bob, someplace that belong to a club, don't you?
Well, of course, Uncle Slug, he's the club member down there.
He's
but
the clubby
sometimes I think that the atmosphere of them clubs ain't doing him any good.
Oh, what clubs does he belong to?
Well, he belongs to a lot of clubs down there. He's president of the Monday Night Beer Club.
Yeah.
And he's secretary of the Tuesday Night Pretzel Association.
Good club.
And he's treasurer of the Wednesday Night Stein Society.
Mm-hmm.
And he's charter member of the Thursday Night Thirst Circle.
What does he do on Friday and Saturday nights?
Oh, he likes to sit around the house with his friends and sip beer. But Bing, I shouldn't attempt to give you a lecture on good neighbor policy because everybody knows, what a good neighbor Bing is, especially me. And I'm just as sure as I'm sure I'm standing right here that if Bing and I was lost in the woods with only one Boy Scout knife between us, I know Bing would let me have it. And, but if you want to hear something, if you want to learn about a good neighbor policy and how to act towards your neighbors, you ought to go down south. I was down to Johnny Trotter's home down in North Carolina not long ago. Oh, we had the time of our life down there. And those people down there are so proud of Johnny because they know that Johnny is one of the 10,000 foremost orchestra leaders in the country. And they gave a picnic for him, and we went out there, and of course, I didn't take a bazooka with me. I didn't know they was going to call on me for something. But I did sing him a song. And I sang the Hut-Sut song. And Johnny played the piano. And I introduced the song down there in North Carolina. They never heard it before. And after I sang 2 choruses of the Hut-Sut song, I found out I had sold over 400 pounds of tobacco. And, but I found out another thing about Johnny's kinfolks. Johnny never told me anything about them, but do you know that he can match me uncle for uncle? I thought I had a lazy uncle. But I was sitting out on the porch with one of Johnny's uncles, and I was sitting out there just rocking back and forth, and he kept looking at me and kind of scowling, had a worried look on his face. And finally he said, "Son, you're going to wear yourself out rocking like that." And I says, "What's the matter?" And he says, "Well, you wouldn't tire yourself out so quick if you'd rock with the grain." But I felt awfully bad. I felt hurt because I never had an uncle that was that lazy in my life. But when this man, his uncle, started bragging on himself and telling me about what a liquor taster he was, he said he was the champion liquor taster of the county. And I couldn't stand for that because, after all, I have got an Uncle Slug. And so I challenged him, and I got to talking to the town people, and they laughed when I told them I had an uncle that was a better liquor taster than Johnny Trotter's uncle. So I sent up to Van Buren, and I got Uncle Slug to come down there, took a plane down. I'll never forget that day if I live 1,000 years. We gathered down at this warehouse where they store this stuff, and the whole town was down there, and they started tasting this liquor. Well, sir, they just stuck right together. They agreed on every barrel till they went through the whole warehouse pretty near. All day long, they just kept sipping, and they agreed on every barrel. And finally, long towards late in the evening, they come to the last barrel. And Johnny's uncle took a taste of it. He smacked his lip. He says, "It tastes a little brassy." And Uncle Slug took a taste, and his eyes lit up. He says, "Now I got you. It tastes leathery." So they took another sip. And Johnny's uncle maintained it was brassy, and Uncle Slug, he held out that it tasted leathery. They kept on drinking and drinking until they emptied that barrel, 52 gallons. And way down in the bottom of the barrel was a little brass tack with a leather washer on it. Now then, I found out something else down there. When I saw how popular Johnny was, just because he's the orchestra leader, I made up my mind then and there that I'm going to be an orchestra leader. I don't see anything to laugh at there. So I figured to myself, no, it's a little bit too much trouble getting a bunch of men together, and then you never know where they are half the time. And then I thought there's that little formality of salaries. So I made up my mind I was going to play the whole blooming band by myself. So I'm going to practice tonight. I'm going to show you what it sounds like, if you don't mind, Bing.
Well, the maestro's getting ready now, folks. He's gathering all his instruments. Let's see what he's got here. He's got a banjo, a kazoo. He's got a small cantilever bridge and 5 pounds of chopped liver. This ought to be right pretty, folks.
You must think I'm Santa Claus. Christmas comes every day. You must think you hear the sleigh bells ringing whenever I come your way. You must think I'm a Christmas tree. If you do, you better pause. Because I bring you presents, honey, once in a while. Don't you think I'm Santa Claus? Oh.
Believe it, folks, but he was reading the racing form over my shoulder at the same time. That was Jerkin G-String Burns, the one-man branch of Bedlam, and he's available for stag, smokers, market openings, and theater closings. If you want him, we'll be only too glad to let you have him. Just let us know, but don't be too hasty. Take your time making up your mind, and while we're waiting to hear from you, here is one of the most popular songs of all times, sung as only Connie Boswell can sing it, Intermezzo.
Like a dream you dream tonight that fades from sight when darkness disappears. Maybe you will vanish too. The when tomorrow's dawn appears. So, my love, one that started out in splendor and died in tears. Like a dream, you dream tonight that fades from sight when darkness disappears. Maybe you will vanish too. The moment when tomorrow's dawn appears. So, my love, while stars above in heaven's blue are softly gleaming, I'll dream of you and I'll live in the glory of your
That was lovely, Connie. Very, very beautiful interlude. Not quite so beautiful, but equally important, equally vital is the ensuing little interlude with Kensington there.
When you call to mind the women you've known who are especially clever about food, you'll notice this. They usually have little pet ways of making everyday dishes taste different. And lots of times they do it with Miracle Whip salad dressing. For instance, there's nothing very exciting about green beans as the hot vegetable for dinner. But just you try serving green beans with Miracle Whip. Then you've got something. Or those slices of cold meat for Sunday supper. Add Miracle Whip as a sauce and watch the faces light up. A unique combination of old-fashioned boiled dressing and fine mayonnaise, Miracle Whip has a different flavor all its own. Millions prefer it to the flavor of any other dressing. So many millions indeed that Miracle Whip actually outsells the next 20 leading salad dressings combined. Now that warm weather is here, you'll be serving at least one salad every day. Heap 'em with creamy Miracle Whip and see how fast they go. Order tomorrow and save by getting the quart size. In Canada, the large jar of Miracle Whip salad dressing is known as the 32-ounce size.
Carpenter, did I hear aright? Was that you messing with them bells?
Well, I just wanted to wake you up because I got something to ask you.
What is it?
How would you like to go on the radio, Dr. Crosby?
Oh, I like what I'm doing quite well.
Oh, you do? No, I don't mean that. I mean a different kind of a thing, heading a quiz show that features a 3-month-old baby.
Would you like to do that?
Well, I most certainly would, since I've found little Billy. He's the 3-month-old prodigy who answers questions just like John Kieran.
Yeah?
Mrs. Button, Button, where is Mrs. Button?
Here I am, Mr. Carpenter.
Oh, yes, here you are. Dr. Crosby, may I present Mrs. Lewis Button?
How do you do? For professional purposes, I prefer not to be known as Mrs. Lewis Button. Professionally, I'd rather be called Poyle.
Poyle?
Yeah, Poyle Button.
I see.
And this is my little boy, Billy.
Yes, for professional reasons, the little boy will be known as William, not Billy Button.
I see. Oh, yes. Well, for educational reasons, they tell me, is Billy the one-semester sprout with all the answers?
Oh, it's amazing, isn't it? He can't even talk, and yet he's able to answer the most difficult questions.
Is that so? What does he do? Burp in the Morse code?
No, the child cries, and Mrs. Button understands, and she tells us what the child cried.
Oh, in other words, Mrs. Button knows all the answers.
I don't know from nothing.
There you are. There you are. You have it from the lady's own lips. Mrs. Button knows from nothing. Now, go ahead and give him a demonstration, Mrs. B. Go on, ask the child something, Dr. Crosby.
Well, now, let me see. Oh, yes. What's the longest word in the world?
There, you hear how fast he answers?
Billy says the longest word in the world is smiles, because there's a mile between the first and last letters.
My goodness. How can a sprout so young remember a gag that old?
Oh, he's a genius. Ask Billy something else, Dr. Crosby.
Something else? Oh, yes. When are you going to start to school, Billy?
Oh, what does he say about starting school?
He says, what's the use? It didn't do you two guys no good.
Well, now, ask him a real hard question, Dr. Crosby. Something mathematic.
All right, Carp, mathematics. I'll ask him the one that has kept you from finishing first-year arithmetic. We'll try that. Now then, Billy, listen carefully. A butcher has a mother who weighs 112 pounds. The butcher's father weighs 180 pounds. The butcher weighs 16 pounds less than his father and 27 pounds more than his mother after losing 15 pounds a day for 16 days. At the end of the 17th day, what does the butcher weigh?
Has he got the answer already?
Uh-huh. Billy says the butcher weighs meat.
What a corny kid.
Oh. Corny, sure, but with his beam.
All right, he's succotashed.
Well, what's he saying?
Nothing. He's just laughing.
Well, what?
How should I know what he's laughing at?
Well, it couldn't be Dr. Crosby's last joke.
No, but it could be your face. But we'll just have to wait till he tells us.
Well, give me the vine when you find out what the sprout's giggling about, will you, Carp? Meantime, I'll proceed with Kraft Music Hall matters, dealing in turn with Charles Boyer, Don Amici.
Charles Boyer and Don Amici are next Thursday.
Oh, that's right. So it is. Let's see. This Thursday's business involves Gail Patrick, Bert Lauer, Jimmy O'Brien, and at the moment, Connie Boswell of New Orleans, and the Hut Set song from Double Talk, Minnesota. Hut Set rollin' on the river and a brawler suet. Hut Set rollin' on the river and a brawler suet. Hut Set rollin' on the river and a brawler suet. Hut Set rollin' on the river and a brawler suet.
Now the Rawson is the Swedish town.
The Rillera is a stream.
The brawler is the boy and girl.
And the Hut Set is their dream. Hut Set rollin' on the river and a brawler suet. Hut Set rollin' on the river and a brawler suet.
Hut Set rollin' on the river and a brawler suet. Hut Set on the river and a brawler suet. Hut Set rollin' on the river and a brawler suet. Hut Set on the river, brawler suet. The Rawson is the Swedish town. The river is the street. The brawler is the boy and girl. The Hut Set is the dream. Hut Set rollin' on the river, brawler suet. Hut Set rollin' on the river and a brawler suet.
A moo goo guy, pan litchi chicken chow mein, Chicago style chop suey. Foo young sub, gum mama chicken chow mein, Chicago chop chop. A moo goo guy, pan litchi chicken chow mein, Chicago style chop suey. Lobster fried rice, almond chicken chow mein, Chicago chop chop.
Now the mugu is a kind of food.
And the litchi, he's a nut.
The sub gum ought to fill your tum.
Chow mein is finely cut. A moo goo guy, pan litchi chicken chow mein, Chicago style chop suey. Foo young sub, gum mama chicken chow mein, Chicago chop chop.
Foo litchi chicken chow mein, Chicago chop chop.
No stranger to film followers, and one of the old Kraft Music Hall's most attractive alumni, Gail Patrick, now being seen with William Powell and Myrna Loy in Love Crazy, was just recently being seen in person, seeing the sights in Washington, D.C. In fact, Gail just flew in from Washington, specially to be with us in the hall this evening. How did things look to you around the Capitol, Gail?
Wonderful, Bing. Simply wonderful.
Well, you sound impressed.
I am. I saw everything from the basement of the FBI to the top of the Washington Monument. And I went through every government building from the Department of Agriculture to the Bureau of Printing and Engraving where they make all the money.
Did you bring us any samples?
No, they're not passing out samples this season, Bob. The demand's too great.
No fresh green vegetables from the Department of Agriculture?
Why, the Department of Agriculture told me Bob was supplying them with a new variety of hardy corn.
That's what he's doing.
Well, now, ain't that sweet of the Department of Agriculture. I mean,
so.
calling my corn a new variety. They're so thoughtful.
Nice. Now, everybody in Washington seems to be thoughtful, Bob. As busy as they are, they were always willing to stop and explain anything I wanted to know.
Now, I wonder, would they be so thoughtful and considerate and willing to stop to explain something to somebody that looks like my Aunt Peachy Sims?
Oh, certainly, Bob. They're anxious to have everybody learn all about how our government operates. For instance, did you know that there's more linen in a dollar bill than there is in a linen suit?
There is, and why in the world can't I buy a linen suit for $1?
Why bother? Just sew
Never
sleeves and
satisfied.
leaves.
Well, now, if they explain everything to you, Gail, maybe you can tell me how much more it costs to make a $10,000 bill than it does to make a $1 bill.
What makes you think it should cost more?
Don't you have to work harder for $10,000 you do for $1?
Well, as a matter of fact, it costs exactly 9 mills to make a $10,000 bill.
You don't mean to tell me.
Mm-hmm.
Then why don't I send them $9 in stamps and let them mail me 100 of the best $10,000 bills?
See, the fella could get fat as a goose in no time, couldn't he?
Well, I had the same idea, Bob, and so have a lot of other people. But Senator Caraway of Arkansas told me that the government doesn't accept any of that sort of mail-order business.
You know, I was talking to Senator Caraway on the telephone the other day, and she told me she and you had lunch together.
That's right.
Well, I was hoping you'd kind of tell me about it.
Why?
Because I was hoping maybe she said something nice about me.
Oh, well, she did, Bob. She says you've done so many wonderful things for the state.
Did she mention anything in particular?
Well, yes. She told me one of the most wonderful things you ever did for Arkansas was to move to California.
Hello.
Now, I bet you she didn't say that either. Now, what else did Senator Caraway say?
Oh, she told me all about Arkansas, Bob. How big it is, what it produces, what a wonderfully beautiful state it is. She told me what the Arkansas state flower is, too. And, Bob, from now on, would you mind very much if I called you Apple Blossom?
Oh, shucks. Well, if you let me be your Apple Blossom.
Oh, fiddle faddle.
Apple Blossoms has always been my favorite flowers.
Oh, would I were you a tender apple blossom?
The poet Lars speaks.
Are Apple Blossoms your favorite flower, too, Bert?
No, why should they be? What are they? Nothing. Nothing but advance agents for a dish of applesauce.
What is your favorite?
Orange blossoms.
Oh, they're lovely, too. Orange blossoms with just a dash of lilies of the valley.
Yes, and have you ever tried orange blossoms with just a dash of gin?
Oh, Bert, that's bitter.
A dash of bitters ain't bad either.
Oh.
But why shouldn't I be bitter? What kind of a world is it where a man can see what I saw this morning?
Well, what in the world did you see this morning?
Oh, I'd rather not talk about it. It's just too awful, too disgusting.
Well, at least warn us where not to go. I mean, tell us where you saw this awful sight.
In my bathroom this morning when I was shaving. Oh, it was horrible.
Well, don't be too self-conscious, Bert. After all, there are various types of beauty.
Yeah, but why did I have to be a typographical error?
But, Bert, your looks are your career.
Well, I'd have been just as happy being Tyrone Power.
But Annabella would have hated it.
Oh, is that so? Is that so? Parlez-vous français?
Un petit peu.
Oh, don't worry, Bert. You've traveled far with those bags under your eyes.
Yeah. But I'd like to trade those traveling bags for some fancier kind of luggage.
Well, when you get it, Bert, pack it and go to Washington.
Washington? Why?
Well, because to an American, Washington today must be the most inspiring place in the world. All the great departments working toward one goal, all the great memorials, emblems of the tradition we're living up to. Just to be able to go to Mount Vernon and walk through George Washington's home and see the things he used, the account books he kept, and all the little things of his everyday life, they all make him a real person. Everything in Washington today seems to have taken on a new meaning, a new significance, and all the activity gives the visitor a wonderful feeling of unity. Yes, that's it, unity above everything. Everything seems to be in cooperation. Everyone's trying to cooperate, hand, heart, and soul, to show the entire world that democracy works best under any and all conditions. Standing there in the Lincoln Memorial today, looking up at the great statue of Lincoln and reading his Gettysburg Address and his second inaugural address on the walls beside him, well, it makes you feel like you know Mr. Lincoln personally. It seems as if you could talk to him and as if you can almost hear him say, everything will be all right.
Thank you, Gail. I'm sure those few words went right to many an American heart.
That's right where they came from, Bing. I'm sure every American heart would like to beat to a typical American song, Bing.
Well, I don't know of anything more typically American than a cowboy song. Here's a cowboy song it's better than fairly typical, I guess. Makes no difference now what kind of life fate hands me. I'll get along without you now, that's plain to see. I don't care what happens next, for I'll get by somehow. I don't worry, because it makes no difference now. It was just a year ago when I first found you. I learned to love you, thought you'd love me too. But that's all in the past, and I'll get by somehow. I don't worry, because it makes no difference now. Now that we have really parted, I can't believe we're through. I don't blame myself, sure I can't blame you. There was something had to happen, and it happened somehow. I don't worry, because it makes no difference now. After all is said and done, I'll soon forget you. Although I know it'll be so hard to do. Let things happen as they will, and I'll get by somehow. I don't worry, got no worries. I don't worry, because it makes no difference now. In a place like Hollywood, for everybody who's doing good, there's about 20 or 30 youngsters who are coming up the hard way. A lot of these entries have a long way to go, and a lot more never going to make the distance. But a few are always ready, and with everybody looking out the window, too. What I'm hacking at is this. As much as ought to be done for ready professionals as is done for talented amateurs. So when I got a beautiful earful of young Jimmy O'Brien's fine tenor voice recently, I said, there's a boy that ought to go, somebody in the East ought to hear it. Maybe if they did, they'd fix it so that he could go to New York and be a big enough hit there to be brought back to Hollywood as a discovery. That sounds complicated, but that's only because it is. Seriously, I think Jimmy O'Brien's really got what it takes to push over Hollywood or any place else. I hope you agree as he sings, I'll Take You Home Again, Kathleen. This is Jimmy O'Brien.
I'll take you home again, Kathleen, across the ocean wild and wide, to where your heart has ever been, since first you were my bonnie bride. Your cheek, I've watched them fade away and die. Your voice is sad whene'er you speak, and tears bedim your loving eyes. Kathleen, to where your heart will feel no pain. when the fields are fresh and green, I'll take you to your home again. And when the fields are fresh and green, then I'll take you to your home
It was fine, Jimmy. Sure, and you'll gladden many an Irishman with that, me boy.
Thanks, Bing. If I'm after gladdening one Irishman I'm looking at, that'll be all right with Mrs. O'Brien's boy, Jimmy.
What part of the country are you from, Jimmy?
I come from Tacoma, Washington.
Oh, up in the Northwest in Bing's part of the country.
Yeah, girl. Lots of singers come from there.
How do you know, Bert boy?
I made a survey.
Did your survey include finding out why lots of singers come from the Pacific Northwest?
Yeah, it's lumber country. Guys get them beautiful, rich singing voices from hollering, Timber! Timber!
It's easy to hear you're from the Southeast. Been doing any movie work at all, Jimmy?
Well, I just finished a Warner Brothers short in Technicolor.
Say, they ain't dared try being in Technicolor yet.
They shoot me through the white of an egg.
And, of course, I've done a lot of group work.
Well, Bing's an old group singer, too. Why don't you two boys get together?
I was hoping we could do that.
And so was I. And out of all this hoping, we worked out a treatment of a song that I'm sure you've all heard. You ready, John?
Ready and waiting, Bing.
Well, then here we go. One O'Brien and one Croveny in a low-back car.
When first I saw sweet Peggy, 'twas on a market day. A low-back car she drove and sat upon a truss of hay. But when that hay was blooming grass and decked with flowers of spring, no flower was there that would compare with the blooming girl I sing. As she sat in the low-back car, the man at the turnpike bar never asked for the toll, but just robbed his old pole and looked after the low-back car. Sweet Peggy round her car, sir, has strings of ducks and geese, but the scores of hearts she slaughters by far outnumber these. While she among her poultry sits just like a turtle dove, well worth the cage I do engage of the blooming god of love. While she sits in her low-back car, the lovers come near and far, and envy the chicken that Peggy is picking as she sits in her low-back car.
Ah, nice going, man. Nice going.
Thank you, Miss Boswell.
Thank you, ma'am.
How's for an encore?
Well, that's a good idea. Jimmy and I got to go to the showers, but here's a little encore from Ken Carpenter.
If someone were to ask you what kind of salad dressing do most people prefer, would you know the answer? Well, you're right. It's Miracle Whip salad dressing. Miracle Whip is far and away America's favorite. And then suppose they went on to ask, and just what is Miracle Whip? Well, that's a bit harder because Miracle Whip salad dressing is unique, the only thing of its kind. Not a boiled dressing, not a mayonnaise. It's a delicious combination of the two. Yes, Miracle Whip gives you the delicacy of fine mayonnaise, the liveliness of old-fashioned boiled dressing. And it gives you a wonderful creaminess because it's mixed in a special beater that's patented by Kraft. The very next time you serve salad, which ought to be tomorrow, try it with Miracle Whip. You'll be delighted with the welcome that salad gets. Now, don't forget Miracle Whip salad dressing.
Yours till the stars have no glory. Yours till the birds fail to sing. Yours to the end of life's story. This pledge to you, dear, I bring. Yours in the gray of December, here or on far distant shores. I've never loved anyone the way I love you. How could I? When I was born to be just yours. Till the stars have no glory. Yours till the birds fail to sing. Yours to the end of life's story. This pledge to you, dear, I bring. Yours in the gray of December, here or on far distant shores. I've never loved anyone the way I love you. How could I? When I was born to be just yours.
That gets us right down to the bottom of the barrel with the leathery brass tack, but there's going to be further doings in the old Kraft Music Hall again next Thursday, at which time Burns, Carpenter, John Scott Trotter, Connie Boswell, and the music maids are going to be joined by my colleagues Don Amici, Charles Boyer, Jerry Lester, and Josephine Taminia. Now, if Amici, Boyer, Burns, Lester, Taminia, Boswell, Trotter, and Carpenter don't break it up good, it's really indestructible. That's next Thursday right here in the old Kraft Music Hall. Adios.
Tune in the Kraft Music Hall next week at this same time to hear Don Amici, Bob Burns, Johnny Trotter and his orchestra, Connie Boswell, and the music maids. Guests for the evening will be Charles Boyer, Josephine Taminia, and Jerry Lester. The Kraft Music Hall comes to you from Hollywood's Radio City.
Here's a new lactic American hit, Ramalta, the malted milk Roomba. There's one thing that goes with hot weather the way cream goes with coffee, and that's a frosty, smooth, and satisfying chocolate malted milk. Well, here's a way you can have one without stirring out of the house and for very little cost, too. Just get Kraft sweetened chocolate-flavored malted milk. With this on hand, you can have a cool, delicious chocolate malted at any time by simply adding cold milk. It's a genuinely refreshing drink, too, because it supplies quick food energy to restore your spirits. Your food dealer always has a fresh supply of Kraft sweetened chocolate-flavored malted milk. Try it tomorrow. It comes in 1 and 2 pound sizes and in the new 10-cent packages. The Rudy Valley Seal Test program will follow immediately over most of these same stations. This is the National Broadcasting Company.